Hey everybody, welcome to Do You Believe on Paranormal Zone TV. I want to thank you all so much for being here tonight, and thanks everybody in the chat room. Really nice to see you all. Okay, we got a great show tonight. Serenity Jenny is our guest, and Drew Hurst Beeson, two awesome guests. Serenity, and let me tell you a little about, now Serenity is our psychic medium for the show, and we're going to be presenting to her, we're going to be presenting three cases, Terrence Woods Jr., Dennis Martin, and Summer Wells. And let me tell you a little bit about them. All right, Serenity Jenny. She is Jennifer Swartz Flack. She's a psychic medium, ordained spiritualist minister, and a spiritual healer and Cherokee bloodline shaman. She is the author of Unapologetically Authentic and CPR for the Soul. She is the CEO of Starburn Illuminated Publishing. Jennifer channels a special type of Hashi healing method, energy medicine channeled directly from the stars with the assistance of ascended masters and angels of the Most High, and the beings of light and galactic liaison for the councils of 12. Being naturally psychic medium as a child, Jennifer's abilities were attributed to being an exceptionally intelligent, as she was placed in a gifted learning program in the 3rd grade. You can schedule a virtual reading by calling or text 724-771-5562, and her website is www.serenityjenny.net. And my second guest, Drew Hurst Beeson. Drew focuses on true crime theories and an in-depth investigations into some of America's most fascinating unsolved cases. Drew's YouTube channel, True Crime and Missing People, is based on his research and books, including Sighting In on the Zodiac Killer, Paratrooper of Fortune, The Story of D.B. Braden, and Out of Bounds, What Happened to the Yuba County Five. I believe we did all those books on our channel. He also focuses on strange disappearances such as Brandon Schaefer and Terrence Woods Jr., which Drew will discuss tonight. So with that, let me bring my guests on. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Hey, Norene.
Okay, did you want to add anything to your bio? Drew or Jenny?
Mine's long enough. I don't need to add it.
Oh, that's just a quarter.
I know, right?
All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to have Drew start the show with Summer Wells' case.
Okay, I'm gonna do every little detail because I want to leave Serenity some things to pick up on. So I'm just gonna give the basics of it. But it's a little girl went missing. Her name was Summer Wells, and she was last seen at her home at the 100 block of Ben Hill Road in the Beach Creek area of Rogersville, Tennessee, between 5:30 and about 6:30 p.m. on June 15th, 2021. So it's relatively recent case. Her older brother said she went down into the basement to play, and they never saw her after that. She has never been heard from again, and her family said she simply disappeared without anyone seeing or hearing anything out of the ordinary. An extensive search turned up no sign of her, although search dogs tracked her scent through the woods at the end of Ben Hill Road. 11 days after Summer disappeared, authorities asked the public for information about a truck that had been seen in the area in the late afternoon to early evening hours of June 14th and June 15th. Summer's family was investigated for the possible involvement in her disappearance. There had been domestic violence issues between her parents, Donald Wells and Candace Bly, and Donald has been arrested for domestic violence on multiple occasions. He stated that he was at work when Summer disappeared, and that both he, Candace, and Candace's mother had all passed polygraphs about Summer's disappearance. For unclear reasons, Summer's three older brothers, aged between 7 and 12 years old, were removed from the family home by Tennessee Department of Children's Services about a month after Summer's disappearance. After their removal, police questioned them about the case. They've also interviewed people who stayed at the home in the months prior to Summer's disappearance. Authorities haven't named anybody as a suspect in Summer's case. Donald stated that he believes his daughter was abducted by someone outside of the family. Summer's aunt, Rose Bly, disappeared from Wisconsin in 2009. I didn't know that before, and has never been found, so that's really interesting. The two cases are not thought to be related. Both remain unsolved. Every time they say they're not related, I always think they are. But we'll see what Serenity can pick up on with that. I mean, so there's not a whole lot to the case.
No.
In fact, she's never been found. No trace of her.
No, but what's interesting about the aunt, I had read that she disappeared and they never found her. That's really strange.
That is, to have two in one family.
Yeah. Okay, Serenity.
Okay, so listen, I'm scribbling, right? I don't know if you can see that. I already have a truck.
Yeah.
I had a truck with the mail. Unknown male. You said outside the family. I thought unknown male outside the family. I don't know why. I feel like at first I thought I lost the ability to pick her up outside of the home. Like I started looking at, I remote view this, right? So I'm seeing pictures in my head. I see her leave the home. There's a truck. There's an unknown male. The male is tall, is broader shouldered, and makes me feel like he's too well dressed for an ordinary, like I don't want to say ordinary, that diminishes it, but it's almost like he's more of a professional dressed male, out of the norm for that area, I guess I would say. And the truck doesn't match him. The truck does not match how he's dressed. He shouldn't be driving a truck like that. I know that sounds stereotypical and judgmental, but he doesn't match the description of him. White male, tall, broader through the shoulder, thinner through the waist. Makes me feel like it's east of their home too, the direction of travel. I feel like I just saw a sign that said east. So I feel like she went east, but this sounds really odd too, but I keep picking up like there may be a connection. I do feel pretty strongly there's a connection with the aunt and her. And lineages are a lot of times when people are gifted, I feel like this little girl's gifted, like psychically, like energetically gifted. I would say she probably has seen her and experienced at the time of her disappearance multiple times or multiple things. I feel like the boys were taken out of the home after that because of apparent negligence, but I don't think that was the case. I think they were removed from the home because there's some sort of agency and or group of people monitoring this bloodline. So sometimes people are targeted because of their abilities, and I think that might be the case in this experience, in this situation with this case, because this little girl feels very gifted to me. I do believe the aunt was gifted as well. I see a very, I'm not sure what it is though. It almost looks like a metal, it would look like a barbell to most people. Like that's what it's looking like in my mind, but it looks like a metal door stop with two ends on it. Like it would stop something, maybe a tire chalk or something like that. It looks really odd, but there was something like that, I think, found either in between her house and the woods somewhere in that area. And I do feel like there, in addition to the truck that I picked up on, is a large shoe print, male shoe print, boot print, right foot, probably about size 10 to 11. Give me a little leeway there. It's a bigger foot. I'm not exactly sure. I'm just kind of guesstimating here from what I see in my mind. And I also feel like little girl's mom had also had some sort of odd interaction with a male in the 2 weeks prior to that, somewhere in that small town. I do not think she's going to be found ever alive. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
Hey, Jen, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I had read that the mother, they were out in the garden, and the mother sent Summer into the house to go play, and supposedly she went down into the basement. Do you see anything on that?
You're asking me if I feel like that's the truth. I don't think that is the truth. I think she was supposed to go into the house or supposed to go somewhere, but I think she went somewhere else. I don't think she was in the house very long, if she was in there at all, to be honest.
So then she's saying that the daughter was with her at the time that she was gardening, so the daughter wasn't with her?
She was with her. She went away from her. She was supposed to. I feel like I can see her like going toward the house and maybe supposed to be going in the house. She looked like she went in the house, but either went out another door or was outside again, outside of the house on the right-hand side.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Drew, do you have any questions?
Was the man you were thinking that she was connected with maybe a boyfriend or an affair or something like that? The man from town?
That the mother saw?
Yes.
Yes.
Or the one,
There
okay.
was some sort of intimate connection. Can't determine the nature of the connection, but it's previously been intact before, yes.
Oh, so the parents weren't getting along? There was no family life there?
No, very volatile situation. I feel like the dad in the situation probably struggled with alcoholism and or other substances, multi-substance abuse. So either alcohol and I smell weed, so I'm thinking he probably used pot or some other substance as well. In addition to that, maybe a couple. I don't know what the last one is. I would probably say more like a prescribed substance that's not being used as directed. I don't think it's like a recreational drug. I just think it's something being used not properly. And I also feel like I can never take a deep breath. Like I still can't quite get my breath with this whole situation. Like some dad has knowledge and or I wouldn't say he's involved, but I do think he has knowledge of what he thinks happened. And a lot of times, parents get looked at first, right? I don't think this situation, even though it was a volatile situation, I don't think he caused that child's disappearance.
Did the mother love her child? Did they both love their child?
Mother was broken at a young age, soul fractures from her early growing up. I believe there was abuse there of multiple natures. Dad struggled to love himself. Mom was trying to be nurturing and raise what she thought was like as best she could a family. It was not a safe situation. It's very tense in the family home. Dad dealt with anger and issues of his own too. I'm almost certain I lay money on he was physically abused as a child.
Jeez.
So these kids were in an extremely volatile, almost like if it was a tinderbox, like it could go up at any time. So everybody's walking on eggshells all the time.
Oh, that's really sad. True.
And if somebody was nice to this little girl, I feel like it would be, because I feel like she was an open-hearted, sweet child. Anybody shows her a little bit of kindness, I think she'd have just automatically jocked to them.
That's really sad. Anything else, Drew, on that case?
Do you think whether do the brothers have any knowledge of what happened?
I think there's 3 of them, right?
Mm-hmm. I think there's 3.
The middle one, I feel like maybe has seen this man that I'm seeing in my mind, has knowledge of him or has seen him in the past, or even around their house.
Was this man a friend of theirs or an acquaintance or maybe a gardener or handyman?
I don't think he was known to the family, but I do feel like he frequented the area.
Do you have any idea where they may have taken her?
So the first, I think there's multiple locations. The first flash or vision I have is like, you would see like in the basement in a brick building basement. And I feel like it's in disrepair because I feel like there's water coming through the bricks. I'm not sure if it's like in a house or like in some weird like well looking area. It just looks like old brick and there's water coming through like seeping through the brick. It was dark in there, and then it moved to somewhere where it has tons of creaky board. Like I can hear her walk across the floor and trying to like not make noise and making noise. I feel very sick. I feel like she knew what was happening to her.
What were they doing to her?
I feel like there was physical assault initially, I think for compliance reasons for the abduction, and I also feel like there's some significant trauma to the body sexually.
That's awful. I mean, usually when somebody kidnaps a little girl, isn't that usually the reason?
Yeah. These two women, though, I have to tell you, in my mind's eye, they, she's little. This is a little girl, but the aunt, at the time of her abduction, both of them are giving off a massive amount of light energy. So, meaning, at least in my opinion, they're significantly more attractive to, let's say, dark entities, people with dark intentions, negative intentions, more so than somebody that would have a low vibration. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They carry a very high light quotient, so they are very visible to people that are of the dark natured energies of our world.
Was she kept around for very long, or did they kill her right away?
Couple days, maybe 3 days max.
How many?
She'll be found. I feel like she will be found under dirt, in dirt.
Will this be at a distance from where the location where she was killed? Could it have been in the mountains, because they weren't too far from the Appalacian Mountains,
Yes,
from the National Forest?
It is not. Yes, it will not. It will not be in that hometown area. It won't be there. It will be outside of there.
Drew, anything else?
And I was thinking about the footprints. They did find footprints, and I think they were on a neighbor's property. And the neighbor initially said that they wouldn't let law enforcement search their property. And then I think at some point they relented to that, and they left the house, and then the property was searched, and that's when they found one set of the footprints. So it's possible maybe if she was at this neighbor's residence, they could have taken her away, and then that's why they finally consented. Maybe let their property be searched. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I wonder if it was on the right side of the house. I wonder if it was those neighbors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
So that's where she was in my mind's eye. She was supposed to go to the base. She was supposed to go play, but she went out the right side of the house.
Will the killers ever be caught?
As of right now, no. I mean, circumstances and potentialities can change always. But as of this moment you're asking me, I feel no.
Wow. Okay. Anything else, Drew?
No, that's a hard one. That's one you want to see solved and justice served. Kind of like the Delphi case. Finally, we got a suspect there, so there's always some hope.
You know, there's something energetically that when I was thinking about what we were going to do tonight, we're traveling, we're on location for a case right now on a project, but there is something that we can do energetically as humanity to help some of these children be located, their remains found. Like, where two or more gathered in God's name, I am there, right? So that's 3 energies, like the synergistic effect, right? So if we all collectively concentrate on the illumination of, please let our body be found, shine a light on her killer, shine a light on these things. Shamanically, I have done this before. I've done this for a resident, a drug-infested property, and the police were at that property within 24 hours. And I just did that myself. So can you imagine if a group of people focused and concentrated on something? I mean, that might be another thing that we do later on down the line as a project. But there's a lot of times that we can help law enforcement collectively with our energy. So, that's what I do when we try to locate children or we have missing folks. We collectively put our energies together. This is what prayer is. It's concentrated energy. So it's focus, and we can focus that. So all rights are brought to, or all wrongs are brought to the light, and all rights are made visible. So that's something we can do.
Okay, shall we move on to Dennis Martin then? Okay, so I'm going to do Dennis Martin, and I just want to tell you that I got my information. I bought this book on Amazon, The Disappearance of Dennis Lloyd Martin. Now, this is a 2nd edition. The author wrote a book in 2016, but he wasn't satisfied. So in 2021, he wrote another book with updated information. And so let me read this to you. Hold on. Okay, the disappearance of Dennis Lloyd Martin, age 6, disappeared in the Smoky Mountains, June 13th, 1969. My information on this case is from a book written by Michael C. Bouchard, Disappearance of Dennis Lloyd Martin, 2nd edition, 2021, to tell the real story concerning the disappearance of Dennis Lloyd Martin. He obtained documents not previously released to the public and interviewed key people involved in the search. Now, there's obviously too much in this book, so I picked out what I thought was the most important for Jen to give you information for the case, but there's an awful lot in this book. He was given information that clarified many of the representative facts passing along to the public. Dennis Lloyd Martin, born January 20th, 1962, was 6 years old at the time of his disappearance. He was short of his 7th birthday. He disappeared June 13th, 1969, between 2 and 4:30 p.m. from Spence. I have some pictures I want to show you. From Spence Field, which borders the rugged mountainous terrain in the Appalachian Trail and the Smoky Mountains. Okay, here's Spence Field. In Smoky Mountain National Park, located in Blount County, Tennessee, he is still considered an endangered missing person by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation and the Great Smoky Mountain Police Department. On Friday, June 13th, 1969, Dennis, along with his father, William Bill Martin, grandfather Clyde Martin, and his older brothers Douglas Martin, to take part in the family's annual Father's Day outing. It would be Dennis's first overnight camping trip. On the night of June 13th, 1969, they spent the night in the old Russell Field shelter with 3 additional people that the grandfather had befriended. Let me show you that location. Oh, here it is. The unrelated Carter Martin family from Alabama and his two sons were invited to stay overnight with them in the shelter. On Saturday morning, June 14th, both families hiked to a large clearing space in Spence Field where they planned to set up their camps. At 4 p.m., Dennis and his brother and the other two Martin boys planned to play hide and seek and sneak through the woods and jump out from the tree line in an attempt to scare the older family members. The three boys proceeded to take the shorter path. Dennis's brother told Dennis to take the Appalachian Trail path that was about 30 yards away. The boys believed that Dennis's red t-shirt would draw the adults' attention and spoil their plan. Okay, hold on. Minutes later, the older boys jumped out and everyone laughed. The adults then asked, "Where is Dennis?" The official report indicates Dennis Martin was missing for about 3 to 5 minutes before his father searched for him. And at that time, the family search began. Dennis's grandfather hiked to the ranger station located at Katie's Cove to request help at 8:20 p.m. The park ranger became alarmed by the boy's age. An approaching rainstorm was coming. The ranger contacted park headquarters at 8:28 p.m. The report of missing Dennis was dispatched and the park rangers began their search. Hikers, fishermen, anyone walking along the trail was questioned. And by the way, according to this author, all those that were questioned and reports were taken were never reported. There were never any reports. Dennis was last seen wearing a red t-shirt, green hiking shorts, white socks, and black low-cut Oxford shoes with a simple heel. Dennis was a special education student, an educational delay of about 6 months behind his biological age. No one had seen anyone matching Dennis's description. Later that evening, park rangers and the Martin family searched the immediate area where Dennis was last seen. When darkness fell, heavy rain and thunderstorms moved into the area, hindering the search. The search began on Saturday, June 14, 1969, and continued until September 11, 1969. It was the most extensive search ever conducted in the history of the National Park Service. The search began on Saturday. The search was hampered the first 2 weeks by heavy rain, fog, and flooding and washed out roads. Dennis's grandfather returned to the park every Saturday for 2 years after the search to look for his grandson. The FBI concluded it would not launch a full-scale investigation, but would continue to monitor the search. FBI determined it was only a lost person case. Dwight McCarter, retired park ranger, said the Martin family believes that someone took Dennis, and in their hearts he was stolen. Park ranger McCarter reported a Harold Key and his family were visiting near Rowan's Creek when they heard a scream. On July 16th, Harold Key was interviewed concerning that incident at Rowan's Creek, and that occurred June 13th, 1969, the day that Dennis Martin disappeared. He said that he was with his family, and before walking in the woods, they observed an unoccupied white vehicle parked along the road near Rowan's Creek, but didn't pay any attention to it. He headed towards the woods and saw a middle-aged white man walking quickly through the woods toward the road. He appeared to be sweating heavily and acting nervous. He entered the vehicle and drove off, heading towards Cades Cove. He estimated the time between 2 and 7 p.m. After the man left in his car, they walked further into the woods towards Rowan's Creek and heard a child scream, "Help!" and then another agonizing scream of pain. Then he walked another 200 yards up the path, but he did not see any child. After this incident, he received a phone call at his home by an unknown caller who stated, "It's none of your damn business about the missing boy. and don't talk about it. The following day, 2 FBI agents came to his house and questioned him about the incident. When leaving his house, the agent told Mr. Key, "Don't talk about it." Mr. Key met with the FBI a second time and a park ranger to show them where he observed the man. He never spoke of that phone call because he feared for his safety and his family. 2 years after Dennis's disappearance, he received a second phone call from an unknown caller. The caller stated, "The case is closed. Forget what you heard." Mr. Key said the term, "the case is closed," is used by law enforcement. Mr. Key also said he believes with all his heart that the boy was killed and his body disposed in the woods. Mr. Key was now willing to talk to the author 2021 because most of the people involved had passed away. Mr. Key wanted to make clear that the man that he saw in the woods that day was dirty and rough, and he never used the term wood shiner or wild man in any report. The best description of the man's clothing would be dirty and disabled. Mr. William Martin was informed by the FBI they could not conduct a full investigation of Dennis Martin as a kidnapping, that they had continued interest in information, but they had continued in information that would lead to foul play, and upon that, they would conduct an appropriate investigation. The FBI took 25 years to release the report on the investigation on Dennis Martin. The FBI agent who was overseeing the case committed suicide under mysterious circumstances. Whatever info he gathered regarding this case went to his grave. That's it.
Well, that's a lot of information, but I have to tell you that I feel like there was tampering before you even started talking about that. I felt like there was a cover-up. I felt like Dennis Martin is in fact never going to be found, or he's not alive. But I did feel very oddly that this was much more than just a disappearance or a missing person. I feel like this is some level of a cover-up in a much larger fashion. I feel like there's portals involved in the area that Dennis disappeared, more than 4 that I counted. I feel like there is I asked if a man took him in my mind, and I got a yes. I felt like there either was like something that startled the man, and I almost feel like who took him first didn't take him eventually, which makes me feel like another, I don't know if a creature got him or some sort of animal, but I feel like a man took him first, and either was drug off or taken a second time. So in my mind's eye, like somebody scoops him up and swipes him that is like going to do something terrible to him, physically, sexually, and then I don't know what I'm seeing, but it scares that man so badly that he drops him and falls down this hill, slides down this hill, and I see him running off into the direction of his vehicle. But this thing scoops him up. I don't know if I would, it looks human kinda, but I don't know. I'd almost say he was like a very large lumberjack looking disheveled being. I don't think it's a man though. I keep feeling like it's not a man because he was initially taken by a man, then he was taken again. So this thing scared this man who abducted him. The guy goes flying off into the direction of wherever he parked, and then this thing scoops this child up, and this child is like, you know, when they're developmentally delayed, they have very high soul volume too, light quotient, right? Like they're old souls because they're picking really difficult paths to come in and incarnate on. So I honestly felt like that almost was like a protection from whoever initially took him. So we're talking about two different abductions here, right? So initial abduction, gonna hurt this child, harm him in multiple ways, and then whatever this thing is or being is scared this man, drops the kid, and then it scoops him up. And there are, like I said, 4 portals. I don't think he'll ever be found, and I do think that that was for his protection. Interestingly enough, that's a wild one. You got me on that one. That was a good one. So that's where I'm at with that.
Okay, I have to tell you, they feel that there was a botched kidnapping the first time. That's what they feel.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Well, I believe that is why there was excessive interference. There's excessive, like to the point where I feel like it's a massive cover-up, like the government or the law enforcement or whoever the governing body of that investigation was at that time.
FBI.
Had extreme knowledge of that area, these portals, and whatever beings were coming in and out of them. I don't know what that thing is. Like, I'd say it would maybe, I wouldn't say a Bigfoot. It's too human-y to look like a Bigfoot. I don't know. Cryptids aren't my bag of tricks, right? Like that's more Dave stuff,
Yeah.
but it doesn't look like a man, and it doesn't look like a wild like beast that you would see like in a zoo or any like domesticated. I don't know what it is. I can't tell you what exactly it is. I don't have a label for it, and I don't think it was to hurt him. It was to help him, but I don't think he'll ever be found, because I do think there are 4 at that time open portals in that area, and I do think it was used for some otherworldly or governmental research in that area.
Really? Well, the FBI, they waited 25 years to release the report. I have a copy of the report, and like this author said, there were many reports that were never published. They were never put into the FBI report. And the 2 phone calls that Mr. Key got telling him to keep his mouth shut, that's really weird.
Suicide.
That makes me feel like this is a huge cover-up. Like, I would be interested in 2 things. I would be interested in any kind of weird sightings in that area, both on land and above there. So I feel like something is going in and out, in and out, in and out. So whether it's a craft, it's beings, but I believe if you would look for documentation or any more information in that area, you would find a lot.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of disappearances. Oh yeah, I did a show not too long ago on a couple of the disappearances. The woman was walking and her friends were with her, and her friends started to head back to the camp, and they had turned around and she was gone.
Attorney Gibson.
Oh, is that who that was?
So
Yeah, Attorney Gibson.
I have a little bit of a working theory about all disappearances, not just in this area, but if they are in significant, like, national parks, federal lands, things like that, I feel like there is, and it's hard to even say this out loud, especially publicly, but I believe there are treaty embargoes that other worldly races get so many humans for whatever their purposes, testing, genetic modification and or hybridization or breeding purposes, and the government knows about it. That's my gut feeling on it. And it's almost like a trade embargo, like you get X amount of humans and you leave us alone, or we get this in exchange. And I think the well is poisoned and it goes real deep.
Drew, do you have any questions?
No, that's I've never heard the double abduction theory. Of course, there's the one about the sighting of a man saw that thought he saw like someone like either cryptid-like or how she was describing, maybe a mountain man type that was living off the grid there with what looked like a boy slung over his shoulder. And then later we heard the reports about the car and maybe the abduction scenario. So they're kind of both things at play there, which are kind of interesting. And then, there could be the cover-up for sure, because I think even the Green Berets were called in for some unknown reason.
Oh,
in this case.
my God.
No
It
one
was
knows
huge.
why the Green Berets were sent in. Why would a unit of Green Berets be sent in over the disappearance of a boy? because usually, you know, the FBI wouldn't even get involved in something like this, but they were, and there were valid reports of the Green Berets being sent in, doing something, and then they later were questioned and said, oh, that had nothing to do with the boy disappearing, and it was like around that time, so they thought that was really strange.
Absolutely, they were. The military, everybody. It was huge. Thousands of people were there. Helicopters were brought in, but that double abduction is kidnapping is in this book. You know, I'd really like to do
a botched kidnapping.
Yeah, they believe there was the first time around, and then the second time he was taken. It was him. This book is really interesting. I should do an in-depth show on this and go through the whole thing. It's unbelievable what's in this book, and the FBI report.
Mm-hmm.
Very multifaceted. I mean, this is not a normal abduction case. It doesn't sound like it all. So, yeah, it would warrant a whole show.
Oh boy. So, do you know how long he was possibly stayed alive, or what they did with him?
So the first intention was to harm him. In my heart, in my mind's eye, I see him being taken for bad purposes. The second time he's abducted, I almost feel like he was being for his own protection. Like it feels like whatever took him to protect him from this nasty. And this man that tried to take him initially probably as a sexual predator, and was either caught on some kind of charges later. Anyhow, I don't know if there's proof of that, or if anybody ever actually brought him in to interview him. But I bet you any money that he was actually charged with something inappropriate after that.
Well, in the book, there was a woman, and I don't remember her name because I just bypassed it. She had made a report that she saw Dennis after all. Yeah, she said she saw him.
Oh.
I don't remember where it was. That's why I want to do I want to do a show on this book. Whoever's
this sounds
interested.
Like it's pretty awesome.
That's why he rewrote it in 2021. He wanted to get more, because all this information came to him after the initial publishing of the book in 2016, and he was able to get the FBI investigation report and talk to people that were still alive. But a woman did in here say that she saw him. I'll have to find it. Yeah, she said she saw him, but nobody believed her. So I don't know. Well, the poor man, the poor father it was so sad. I read in that FBI report, they kept telling him, stop it. He won't believe that his son is dead. He just won't give up on it. And the poor father wrote letters, and he wanted it to be reopened. He said because he had been talking to psychics and clairvoyants, and they were giving him hope, and he begged them, and they said, no, we are not doing anything more on this case. It's done. He's lost boy. Unless more information comes in that can prove foul play, then we will do an investigation appropriately.
I wouldn't say he's on our planetary system, and I don't think his body will ever be found. That's just my gut feeling. I mean, I always can be wrong. Everything's fallible, but my gut is that he was abducted on the second time for his own protection.
Oh, boy. Okay. Anything else? Drew, do you have any questions?
Oh, that's fascinating.
Okay. So our next case that Drew's going to present is Terrence Woods Jr. Go ahead, Drew.
Okay. This is a case I know pretty well, and I'll just give the basics again so she can help fill in the holes, but I know a lot about it. On the evening of October 5th, 2018, a TV production assistant. His name was Terrence Woods Jr. Disappeared while shooting on location in Idaho. Terrence had been working on the first season of the Discovery Channel documentary series Gold Rush, Dave Turin's Lost Mine, with London-based production company Raw TV. As part of a 12-person crew, Terrence followed host Turin's journey, exploring old mines in the mountainous regions of the western United States. In the hours before he was reported missing, Terrence posted a photo of his private Instagram page. It showed a forest of densely packed fir trees with a river running through the middle underneath an overcast sky. He captioned it with one word, Idaho. Terrence, who was 26 years old at the time, went missing after he ran into a forest in the Aurora Grande area not far from where the photo was taken. He hasn't been seen since. On the evening of his disappearance, as the shoot wrapped up, Terrence told one of the two local women who had been helping with the crew with transport that he needed to use the bathroom. Moments after Terrence had spoken to the woman, associate producer Simon Gee noticed that Terrence had dropped his radio on the ground. The next thing he saw was Terrence running down a steep cliff that led to a forest where he disappeared into the trees. He and other locals in the area tried to go down the cliff after him, but the terrain in the Aurora Grande is rough and unpredictable. They returned with their clothes torn and covered in blood. He would later tell Terrence's father that his son was running faster than he had ever seen anyone run before. Terrence's disappearance was reported to the Idaho County Sheriff's Office at 6:41 p.m. that same evening. According to an update posted to its Facebook page, due to the late hour of the report, the search for Terrence did not begin until the following day. Search teams made up of dogs, ground searchers on foot, and all-terrain vehicles, along with helicopter teams that could detect body heat, were sent out. Unable to find any trace of Terrence, the search was called off after 6 days. So that's the basics of the case. And, you know, they did report that Terrence was acting a little strange before he disappeared. He had called his father earlier and indicated that he may come home early, which was very odd because he was very dedicated to this job, and it was a dream job for Terrence. He was, I think he's from Maryland, and he had been living in the UK, and it was a UK-based production company, but he loved doing this kind of TV work. So it was his passion, and it made no sense to his father that Terrence would make a call and say he may be coming home early, and his father had no idea why. But then obviously he winds up disappearing. Like it said in the report, he ran, I think it was described as running like a hare into the woods, and Terrence's father couldn't believe that because Terrence was flat-footed. He was not an athlete whatsoever, and they just couldn't believe how fast he slid down this rock and ran into this densely wooded area in the middle of nowhere in Idaho. I think it's like 150 miles away from the nearest Walmart. It's so remote in Idaho County, Idaho. So it's a baffling case, and any insight to it I would love, because I really am into this one.
So immediately when you started talking about him, I felt my pulse start to race and my heart start to beat really fast. I felt like I was terrified, like literally terrified, like I was scared to death. And I think that was him showing me what he was feeling at that time. I do believe that he was a rather sensitive guy, right? Like I'm sure there would be reports that he was kind, genuine, like over the top guy, give you the shirt off his back, right? Like he feels very empathic to me. I feel like he is so sensitive that he could see here and feel kind of like like I would, like a psychic would. But I feel like he was real sensitive to energy, and I actually think that a couple days that led up to that, maybe what provoked the call to the dad that he was coming home early was he was having nightmares. I mean, extreme nightmares, like to the point where they were disturbing him, and he couldn't sleep, and he wasn't getting rest. I do think this is in a very unusual circumstance where he is feeling, seeing, and hearing things on different dimensional realities. This is where you have to put on your quantum mechanics and quantum reality cap, where time, dimensional, and space reality kind of collide here. I'm not sure in this area, but you would have to look it up. I believe there's ley lines. I believe there's a lot of quartz crystal, and I believe that it's a high caliber energetic area. If there's gold there, I know gold's like a conduit or an extra conductive material. So, you know, you got the perfect storm, and he happened to be so sensitive that he was probably, I think, affected, like, even psychologically. Like, I'm telling you, when I say I'm tense and I can feel it, I physically can still feel it as I'm talking to you. Like, I'm trying to make sure my words make sense, because I still feel that state of panic. I do not feel like he will be found alive either. I believe whatever happened to him, it almost makes me feel like in my mind something altered his energy state, or his awareness of his surroundings, to the point where it made him like extra strong, extra fast, extra, almost like something hopped into him, like I don't want to say a possession, but it kind of looks like a possession, almost like a walk-in type thing, an entity that, you know, just utilized his body. And when I say time-space convergence in this area, I believe there's other anomalous things that are happening here as well. I also feel like, you know, here's me. I want to know for sure, because I want validation too, right? What happened to him? I believe we probably could talk to him on a ghost box. I believe that his consciousness, and there's a lot more to this area that we need to know. I don't want to liken it to Skinwalker Ranch. I know everybody knows what that's like. In that area, supercharged. They've detected a wormhole. They can prove all these things. I'd lay money on this area is very highly charged and very sensitive, like that area. Drew, you're shaking your head. What can I get right?
Yeah, there's something I think came over him. Yeah, you know, like you said, it's like I describe it like your IT guy when he remotes into your computer to fix something. You know, it's like something like that happened to him, where he's able to be able to run like he's never been able to run before. And, you know, he was having problems going into that, so he's having, you know, something going on in his head. And, you know, it sounds right to be really charged in the area, the granite, and just the surroundings were really getting to him early. And once he just had enough, he drops his radio and just runs like he never has before off into the woods. But do you think that he just kept going and going till he couldn't go any further, where he couldn't be found, or did a car pick him up? Or, you know, there was a road that wound through there. There was always a little bit of maybe hope that he had gotten a ride, or I don't know how he could have set this up.
I don't feel like he got picked up or anything.
Cell phone was
like
never
that.
checked, which is really strange.
It is very strange that they wouldn't check a cell phone, right? But I don't think that he got picked up. I believe this is gonna, you know, for people that know about other dimensional realities, this is gonna make some sense. But for listeners who don't know about energy and beings and different races, just think about the Predator movie. There's this liquid, gelatinous, like looking being, right? That's pure energy. It almost looks like it hits him, he goes running. And I don't even know if they will find a body, because I don't think, and it sounds really odd, but he may have combusted, or the pressure just is not going to be able to be anything identifying.
Wow.
Because just think, if you put all that energy just think about filling a balloon up. If you put too much air in the balloon, you know what happens to the balloon, right? The energy, the consciousness, just think about how fast he's running. That's going to need to expand as it grows. And when it does, you hear about people actually having that happen on film, on camera, spontaneously combusting. I think sometimes the energy has a lot to do with that. And this is an extremely odd circumstance, extremely odd.
Hey, Jen, does Dave want to do his ghost box on that?
If we had it here, I'm sure he would.
Oh.
But everything is packed away at the location. We're at the hotel, so 2 different places. Trust me, I already thought of it, Norene. I was like, oh, where's it at?
Oh, it's too bad. Wow, that's crazy.
So,
I've never thought of that, though, as far as the area, because There's a really similar case, Daniel Robinson, that went missing. He was a geologist, similar age as Terrence. He went missing in Arizona because he was doing work, geology type work, and it was, not probably too unlike this area that Terrence was in, but they, never found him. They found his Jeep that he left behind. It looked like it was wrecked, but it looked like it may have been staged, but they never found Daniel either. He left behind his cell phone, his wallet, money. His clothes were strewn about the area where they found his Jeep. And, it was, again, one of those areas, like maybe something came over him and he just never found, just evaporated into something.
I mean, these are situations, even from working in law enforcement, like just for the few years that I did earlier on in my career. First of all, in the one case, we've never once called the FBI for a missing person unless it was extremely significant. Two, like, you don't close cases; they stay open and they're just unsolved. You don't close a case until the case is solved. It's still an open, unsolved case. You don't say the case is closed. There's a lot of anomalous things that are happening, I think, in missing persons cases in general. We can't explain, and we have to start looking at what really is happening. And I mean, multidimensional reality is true. Thank you, astrophysicists. That's not me saying that. That's been proven. So wormholes are true. The Rosenberg Bridge, or the Rosen, the bridge, the wormhole. I can't remember what it's called, but that's been proven. That's our quantum reality right now that we're in, and we have to looking at the possibilities of, okay, otherworldly dimensional realities are probably involved at this point. And there are not explanations for all cases. We may never know. But you can check and see if there's air in the body. You can check and see where the body is. You can ask questions like, is this a body recovery? Is this a rescue or is this a recovery? And a lot of times when I do things for law enforcement services, that's the first thing I'm asking. Is this going to be a rescue mission or is this a recovery mission? And then I start asking about, is there breath in the body? When's the last time there was breath in the body? Do we need to look here, different areas of grids of searches and, determining characteristics. And, if I get to one or two questions where we're not going to have a rescue, we're going to have a recovery, the whole set of questions change.
Something going on with these people. Maybe they're just more sensitive to it when they get in those areas and they start losing control of their thoughts. And
you yourself, I mean, we all have had feelings where we go into a certain situation or an environment and the energy is like really charged. Your hair stands up on the back of your neck, you get goosebumps, you have waves of chills going through you. So, just the goosebumps, for example, that condition's called pylorus erectus. So either you're in pain or you're cold. Those are two conditions that produce that. The third condition that you're not going to find in the medical books is that spirit has changed the frequency or vibration of an area, and you physically are detecting that, much like some of this paranormal equipment that the investigators use on different investigations. So you have to start understanding that you're your best device, and that we all should be tuning into that more, but we're so distracted by all these distractions, we don't have the time to be in our being, which is what we really should be focusing on. That's why some of us are super intensely aware of what's going on, because whether we want to or not, a lot of times we're forced to pay attention to those different radio stations, so to speak.
Makes sense.
Wow. Well, we finished early tonight. I thought it would take longer.
I was locked and loaded, ready for you guys, because I had 7 hot minutes to get ready. I was ready to go.
Oh, man. Well, I don't have anything prepared for a case, so anything.
How about this? Let me just, can I spitball for a minute?
Oh, yeah.
We have three minds here sitting talking about things like this. So sometimes, looking for bodies. I've been with police departments outside, actually boots on the ground, looking for, we're on a recovery, and I try to give them different options where they can look. There was a significant case one of our local departments had. I had no details, zero, none. I didn't know it was the man or woman. I just know that we were on a recovery. So I was able to describe what happened to the body, where the injuries were, where the body was last seen alive, when it first hit the ground, when she was disposed of, and it was a female. And the troopers that were there were like, oh my God, how do you know this? These case details weren't even released to the public. And I'm there for a municipal police department. These are state police. I scared one, he walked away from me. And the girl that was there, the female, she was like, this is wonderful. Why aren't we using you more? And I was like, I don't know, I'm here, let's do this. We need to start focusing our efforts on, there's people that are solving crimes all over the internet now. Could we potentially be training people to utilize the collective consciousness and the things that we're able to do as a humanity? Yeah, we can. You don't have to be in law enforcement to do this. And we all have energy inherently. Like, that is our gift from creator, source, spirit, God, whatever you call that, however you connect. But there's something in you intuitively that knows sometimes, just like I said, the hair goes up on the back of your neck. You're attuned to this. You're tuning into the frequency of what happened. And there are lots of times where a psychic or somebody who's clairvoyant says, I saw this, and that ends up being the exact detail, an exact finding in the crime. So I don't know, maybe we should work on developing our abilities.
Oh, well, yeah, some have that intuition, but I mean, come on, Jen, you're intelligent. You were in the 3rd grade, and you were declared highly intelligent. Not only that, you were 12 years old, and you started having all these gifts showing up, healing a cat and stuff.
Listen, this is like, I always tell everybody, I'm not crazy, I was early. So, before multidimensional reality was determined to be true, I would say things all the time. I got dunked 10 times at church, if not more. That's what I remember. And, I was saying things that really defied people's logic at that time. Like, oh no, that doesn't exist. Oh, don't say that. Oh, don't talk about that. It does exist. I could perceive it because I could perceive extrasensorily, right? So that's what ESP is, extrasensory perception. Everybody has the ability to be psychic. Just think perception, psychic, that's those abilities. Mediumship, that's a little bit different. You can develop that if you have it naturally. We all have the ability, though, to be psychic in nature. So we have those 5 physical senses, then we have the 7 psychic senses. And that makes up 12-strand DNA. So it gets real fun and interesting at that point, because we have junk DNA that the medical communities will not talk about. Where does that DNA come from? See, these are big questions, great big questions. So you too can be psychic. Mediumship's a little bit different, but there's lots of, that's how police officers solve cases. They get a hunch, or they have a gut feeling, or I'm going to go back and check that location one more time. And a lot of the people that I treat, I'm like, you have to trust your gut.
Well, that's intuition, isn't it? That's intuition.
Absolutely. That's that clairsentience. That's actually what it's called, clairsentience. It comes in through the sacral chakra, which is right below the belly button. And that's that gut feeling that gets you like, oh, I should go back and look at that. Oh, that person, like, it just gets you. It grabs you. You are intuiting through your feeling sense, through your belly, and you're getting information, because that chakra's job is to metabolize energy in the environment through our auric field, through that chakra, and it metabolizes it much like your body metabolizes food. So it's taking it in, digesting it, and then giving you a message saying, this is what this is. So you are actually getting knowledge through a feeling. Clairvoyance is getting knowledge through a vision, whether that's internal or external vision. Because really, it sounds complicated, but people, you guys, everybody's doing it every day, all day long. Everybody. You're intuiting your environment.
Oh, okay. Hey, okay. Let me ask you about something. It's not a real big deal. That's why I never asked you about this one. Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner, her death. They went on their ship, their boat. It was a sailboat, Drew? It was a sailboat.
It was, yeah.
His sailboat. And she is, all her life has been scared to death of water. And she always thought that one day she would die drowning. Well, they invited Christopher Walken. They were making a movie, and he invited Christopher Walken to come and have dinner with them. So it was Christopher, Robert, and Natalie. And they got to talking, and they started arguing, Robert Wagner, and they were drinking too much, and I believe she was too. And I think she said, "I'm going to bed," or he told her to go to bed. So she took off and supposedly went to bed, and Christopher Walken and Robert were arguing. Well, I don't know if Christopher stayed overnight or if he brought him back or was going to bring them back, but he looked for Natalie. He couldn't find her. And they found her in the water. She had drowned. She was in the water, but she would never go near water. So, and I know they had a dinghy. Now, did she try to get into the dinghy and fall into the water, Drew? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
But they found her in the water, and she was scared to death of water. So she would have never gone in it, unless she fell in and passed out because she had too much to drink. I don't know. And okay, go ahead.
I do feel like she may have slipped and fallen into the water, hit her head, fell in the water. She was really, at least from what you're telling me, from right now, she was pretty intoxicated. I don't know what her blood alcohol level was, but I bet it was high.
Okay. Yeah, they blame Robert. The family blames Robert. They said he did it.
I think her sister.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really critical. I can't remember that other. She had some other stories about him that weren't flattering, or
I'm sure he was very, it felt like controlling and jealous, but I actually think that might be an accident.
Yeah, he says he didn't do it. Of course somebody would. But I never pictured him killing Natalie. Okay.
I do think he loved her. I mean, I don't even know who that is. I'm embarrassed to tell you that, but I don't know.
That's
but
okay.
I do feel like she just fell. It literally was an accident. Okay. And I don't think they actually even checked her for a really long time.
Oh no, they didn't. They didn't.
They were too busy about themselves and didn't really care about her or where she was or where they thought she was. They were like, "Oh, we'll just check on her in a minute." And when they did try to check on her, it was way too late.
When she fell in the water, did she know she had fallen in the water and couldn't swim?
I don't think so. I think she may have hit her head.
Oh.
I actually think she foresaw her death is why she was afraid of water. I would say she was fairly sensitive as well, but a lot of times people will incarnate, and when you have deja vu and people are like, "Ooh, I've been here before. I've seen this before. This is so weird." Before your incarnation, the way you select your life path, your soul contracts, it's very multi-layered how we incarnate and what we want to achieve while we're here on this earth plane. We're able to select it, and I've actually seen this in my own life and my timeline here. So I know when I'm experiencing something, it's almost like a check mark or a checkbox that I've been at this place before, because I've actually seen that clip. And I've had a lot of clients actually have that experience as well.
Yeah, she did. She predicted that she would die drowning. She did.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people actually even know the day they die or the age. They will come to me and say, "Is this correct? I feel this way." And those are hard questions. I had one lady who was psychic, and she was from Lilydale, and she was a pretty well-known lady. She said, "I know you can't lie. When am I dying?" I was like, ugh.
Oh no.
Heck of a bit. I don't like it. I only ask for what people need to move forward with their life path and purpose. Unencumbered. People want to know things specifically. I will answer it. I don't lie. I won't lie. If it's difficult information, I try to couch it as nicely as possible. But if they're coming to me for a specific reason, I'm going to tell them whether, it's easy information or not. But that lady asked me, and she said, "I know." She already knew that. She knew when she was going to die. She just wanted to know if I was going to say the same thing she thought. And she's in spirit with us now.
They're asking about the Delphi murder case, but I don't want to do that because there's too much, and I covered it with another psychic, but they want to know what you have to say, and I would love that as well, but not tonight. It's
Next
too
show.
involved. Yeah.
Next show,
yeah.
promise.
It's too much. Okay, I guess that's it. Anything, Drew? Is there anything you want to ask Jen?
No, that was interesting.
Yeah, it was.
Terrence, man, I just think, Terrence just went into the ether. I mean, it just baffles me.
I would be really curious, like I said, ley line intersections in that area, portals, vortices, and what kind of crystal, granite, whatever, clear quartz crystal and gold are in that area. See if there's any electromagnetic anomalies or something like that.
Yeah, another lady went missing. Well, near the same time, but not in the exact area. I think she was not over 100 miles away, but at the same time, a lady went missing. She was like a park ranger type. I can't recall her name now, but went missing very near the same time period. And it was another one of these just vanished without a trace, about 100 miles away. So it could be that whole general, that whole county, Idaho County, is just so vast and remote, and could have that whole thing happening there.
Well,
absolutely.
What about these national parks? Like, people are disappearing, and
Granite fields.
Yosemite is extremely high for disappearances, and so is Shasta. And Shasta, with UFOs as well.
Yeah, I know Steve Stockton covers Shasta quite a bit, and we talk about it.
Oh, you did a show with him, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve.
I mean, if you think about it, the whole globe is covered with, ley lines, and they intersect, and there's portals, and there's vortices and vortexes. I mean, this is different quantum realities, and these potentialities actually exist. So could somebody, I think there's a place too called Superstition Mountains. Isn't that where people disappear to? Like, I've never researched any of this stuff. I just have knowledge of it. But I do know that you can be transported and come back too sometimes through these jump gates, wormholes, however you want to say that, portals. Most people go through those, they don't come back.
Okay.
And unfortunately, like I said, I think there is some treaty embargo, some kind of trade embargo in place where, unfortunately, there's different races of beings other than us out there that like to study us or like to interact with our race.
That's why they won't report all the missing people in the national parks.
Exactly.
They don't want you talking about it.
Oh no, because they won't go. And I will not go back to Yosemite. So Yosemite's about 3.5 hours from us, and hell no, I will never go back.
They were close, right?
Never go back.
Did you feel a weird energy there, or just
no?
Just knowing about all the disappearances.
No. What happened was, after we got back from Yosemite, a lot of paranormal activity started in my house. My shoes, my jewelry disappeared. I would find my shoes turned upside down and in a corner. Every day we would open up a door, and there's my shoes in the corner, turned upside down and pointed. And then I'd be on a rocking chair, and the rocking chair would push back. I started seeing my dead mother-in-law. She passed through my daughter's window, dressed in white. The vacuum cleaner would go on automatically. Hell no.
Right when you got home.
It all started when we got home. All this stuff started happening. I'll never go back.
So listen, just hypothetically, this could be what's happening. So, Norene, I think you're pretty connected anyhow. You say you're not, but I say you are. I think you are.
I say she is.
I know that for a fact. Every time I interact with you, I can feel how high your energy is and how connected you are. So what if in those national parks, like, something is intensifying the energy, right? So that could actually just cause your light quotient, your consciousness level to rise. So I'm not saying that you're causing all that stuff, but you then become a transmitter because you're a receiver. You're receiving information like through energy, and your light quotient's going up, and then you are affecting all the things in your environment. I mean, I have seen stuff like that happen before to clients that have been places, traveled geographically, and they have gotten a download because of the energy in the area. And that speaks to the fact that astrocartography kind of is like an up and coming thing now. A lot of astrologers are looking at this, like, where does your chart line up as to where you live geographically? Is it adding to your energy, or is it taking away from your energy? Because if you live on your sun line, I hear it's really difficult to get things done, and I'm pretty sure my concentration level is affected because I live very close to my sun line. I mean, there's things that can happen energetically that can supercharge you. So I don't know, it's a thought.
I don't know.
And that kind of makes sense too with Terrence's case. I mean, maybe we're onto something here. Maybe some people who go to some places, locations like this, that are all, it's an already magnetic, electromagnetic, energetic vortex, portal, ley line intersection, something, and you go there and you are like a receiver. Like, your brain has crystals in it, like just like there's crystals in the earth, there's crystals in this phone that we are. Think about it. We're talking on invisible lines that are caught by a crystal, and that transmission is decoded and then processed into what we're seeing. We too are those receivers. We too can catch frequency, and we too can process that frequency into information. It's very interesting.
Wow. Hey, can I ask you a question? Now, how can somebody learn how to be a remote viewer?
It's actually not very hard.
No.
It is not hard. It is not. You listen, how many apps do you have on your phone? I'm going to give you a really good example. How many apps do you have on your phone? Probably 100, right?
No, I only have a couple.
I have a ton.
Oh.
I have a ton of apps on my phone. I only use like 5 of them, right? I don't know what all those apps do. I hardly know what the apps do that I use, right? So you are like a cell phone. You have all these abilities, and no one sits you down and teaches you how. Dave just had his 8-year-old teach him how to use an app she sent to us today because she likes to do artwork, right? So we have to be taught, because we're older, we have to be taught how to use the app. Your being, your energy body is an app. Your physical body is an app. Your spiritual body is an app. Your psychological body is an app. Do you know how they all work? No. We only use 10% of our brain. I mean, seriously, think about this. Like, there's so much potentiality in each human being because we're spiritual beings having a human experience, not the other way around. But we're so busy externalizing everything that we forget to go within. The answers are within. The temple is within. I mean, not to quote scripture or anything, but that is true. Like, you have the ability to do so much more than what you do. Anybody can learn how to do this. And I honestly, little segue, a little shameless plug, I'm launching a spiritual mentorship program. I'm working with an app. It's just going to be an easy delivery vehicle because I've taught classes for, oh my gosh, the better part of a decade now. I've saw people individually. I'm trying to streamline everything because we have a few huge projects coming down the line. But I want to teach people how to utilize their abilities. This is a time that we need all hands on deck. We need all lights on. We need everybody functioning at their highest capacity because that's why we are here. We're here to have a purpose, and that is part of it, I think.
Well, anything else? Drew, anything? No? Okay.
Drew,
Well,
do you want a remote view next time? I can teach you.
Oh.
We can do it online.
I'll tune in for that.
How do you do it? How hard is it? Come on.
It's not hard. I actually had somebody from the military, I can't tell you who or when or why, but he said, you do what I do. I said, how do you know that? He goes, I read you. I said, that's not very nice. You're not supposed to read people without their permission. There's some rules here. That's a big no-no. People that do that do not have ethics of energy. You do not read people that you are not asked to read. That's karmic infringement, right? There's rules.
Wow.
There's rules. Because the dark doesn't have rules. That's why they're the dark. We're the light because we respect people's free will. If you don't respect a being's free will, you are not on the side of light. That's a taker, not a giver. That's the determining characteristic. So it's not hard. I've taken probably, 10 or 20 classes, maybe 30. into this space of maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, and we have remote viewers when we're done.
Oh. Well, yeah, you could do that. Drew will come, huh?
Yeah. Sure. Let's do it.
I want to know why we see doppelgangers. My husband's seen me twice in the backyard, and I've seen my husband twice inside the house.
So, energy can mimic, like spirits can mimic. I mean, good spirits and bad spirits. I mean, the spirit of the discernment is the absolute biggest tool you can develop for yourself. Like, if something feels heavy or light, that's the first indication. Like, if something makes you feel uncomfortable, heavy, like your body's telling you something's not right in your environment, right? So learn to read those cues. Sometimes it's playful spirits, like, poltergeisty type entities, kids. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons there's malicious spirits too that do that to lure you into situations and places in order to hurt you too. So you have to discern whether that's, a happy, healthy, fun, lighthearted interaction, or that's malicious in nature or malevolent.
Well, they didn't do anything. They just appeared. I saw my husband go answer the phone when I was looking over toward that phone. And he went to go answer the phone, but he was upstairs lifting weights.
Okay, so here's
how the hell?
Two more scenarios where you can have residual, right? That imprint energetically, that's a residual, like an intelligent haunting and a residual haunting. So that's a loop of energy that maybe he did that 10 times before, and that energy loops there. And then, Norene, you just spoke to the fact that I know you're connected. Maybe you're seeing through multidimensional reality and you're seeing potentials. That happens all the time. What's the potential that can happen right now? Well, there's a potential that this hotel room could be completely empty. There's a potential that Dave and I are here. There's a potential that somebody else could be here. There's a potential that could be a party. And you can see through dimensional time and reality and actually see all the potentials. I'll tell you one example of that. I won't tell you who, but somebody I care about very much was having a distressed moment. And in that exact moment, I saw every potentiality of his life path. Whether he died in that moment, whether he healed in that moment, whether he was medevaced in that moment, there was every single potentiality happened at the same time. So time isn't real. Time is a man-made construct. It's just framework. So the entirety of the cosmos can happen in the now. You just have to know how to navigate that. Well, and that's how people manifest things. They say, I manifested that. I'm like, you're saying a whole mouthful. Do you know what you're saying? And you can manifest things, and you can affect yourself. Thought is things. Thought is what you think about, you bring about. So that's a frequency. Your brain has a frequency. That frequency produces something. It's very interesting. So there's a lot of different potentials that could have happened to you, and we just have to sit down and figure out which one actually you experience.
Well, my sister and I are now seeing a spirit in the backyard. It's a foggy spirit, but it's a male. You could tell it's a male, and we're both seeing it. She's seen it, and I've seen it too several times. And I don't know. I know years ago, when we bought this house 30 years ago, a psychic, I was friends with she was intuitive psychic, and she used to do shows with me. And she came over to the house, and she went into the backyard, and she goes, oh my God, Norene, you've got somebody buried in your backyard. And I never told my sister. Well, we built a cottage in the backyard, and they're living back there. And her house is on top of the grave. If that's true.
I'll never sleep.
Tell her. She doesn't know.
Maybe we should do a little prayer and walk in the back and
Oh no, she'd kill me if I told her. But anyway,
she doesn't want you to know.
No, she doesn't. But anyway, there's something out there. We're both seeing him, and I don't know who he is.
Get the cats on. Get all those cats on him.
I heard the name Charles when you were talking.
Really? Do you think that's who's buried in the backyard?
I do.
Really? Well, you know, this was an orchard. And the house that we live in was an old farmhouse built in 1929, and it was expanded, and then we expanded it as well. So, I mean, this land is, God, it's been here forever, and it was an old walnut orchard. All around here was walnut orchards.
He went by Mr. Charles, Mr.
Oh, because a Mr. Smith owned all this land here. Huh. Charles,
I wonder if he was his helper.
I wonder if he lived in this house and they just buried him here. Or, you know.
He was out there. He definitely labored the land, for sure.
A farmer. Wow.
Loved it. Loved it.
Really?
Loved it. Some spirits just want to be acknowledged.
Huh. I wonder if that's him roaming around.
I just, you know, if you're out there and you know, I always say all spirits of the light are welcome to communicate with me. I do say that because I want to be a conduit. I want to be a vessel for healing on the earth plane. I feel like that's my duty and my job. Once you die 5 times and you're still here, there's clearly like some need to connect spiritually with my environment, right? So I try to be that conduit or that tool. And sometimes spirits just get sick. Like they get sick too. They pass with unresolved issues, or maybe it's a trauma or whatever. And if they're of the light and they need something, I'm just like, well, if you're here of the light, I'm down for helping you. Like, tell me what you need. And a lot of times they just want to acknowledge. They're like, am I here? I'm like, yeah, you're here. What do you need? And sometimes they need to get crossed over. Sometimes they need to move on. Sometimes they just want to be there.
What do you
Sometimes
think?
it's okay though. It's just okay.
What do you think about people that are dying and they say, "Oh my God, there's my cousin at the door," or a relative that they know?
That's the most beautiful thing ever. I train a lot of hospice nurses and a lot of volunteers for Reiki and death doulas at the end of life, just because that is such a spiritual transition and beautiful gift to be able to witness. My grandmother had that with me in 1999. She actually said her sister Mary Blanche, my dad, everybody was dressed. She said she wanted to know what party they were going to. And I was connected then. I worked at 911, Washington County 911. I had to go to work and be there at 3 o'clock. And she lived in the adjacent county, so I had a long drive ahead of me. I said, Grandma, where are they at? And she said, they're up on the porch. They're up at Great Grandma's. And I just want to know what kind of fixings they're going to, because they're all decked out. They have their Sunday best on. And my grandma lived to be 106. She was born in 1892. And I said, well, it sounds like they're going to go to a party. And she was not that bad. I mean, she was older, but she still got around and got her hair done every week. And that was important to her. She was a pistol. But she said, well, I just want to know what kind of party they're going. And she made me lay her out an outfit at the nursing home. She said, you get my good dress out and put it out for me. And I did. I laid it out, and I got to work about 10 after 3. They said, there's a call for you. You need to come off the 911 floor. You're going to have to go home. Your grandma just passed away. So she literally told me to lay her clothes out before she left.
Oh, well, my sister was, I can't how many years ago. It was on Easter Sunday, and we had other family for dinner, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, and I got a phone call from my niece. My sister was there, and with my 2 nieces, and they had called us to let us know that my sister had just died. And so they told me that she knew she was dying. She said to the girl, she says, come on, pussycat. I mean, I'm holding my cat. Hold on. She said, oh my God. She said, I'm dying. And I don't know what they said to her. And then she said, I see, I forget her cousin's name that she loved dearly. She said, I see whatever in the corner. She's standing there in the doorway waiting for me. And then she died.
That's beautiful, though, that she was able to say that, because it's so nice to know that a lot of times people are there to receive us, because that veil is so thin at that time they're able to see who's coming to receive them on the other side. There's a beautiful poem that is by Henry Van Dyke, and it is gone from my sight because, you know, they're just as vast and big and beautiful in spirit when they transition over there and they go away from us and vice versa. So it's like seeing a ship leave the shore until they go out and hang like a little speck on the side of the ocean, and then the ship's gone. That's how that transition is, and it's beautiful because then they're seeing them and they come and receive them. And I don't know about you, Norene, but that, when I hear that, my mom saw my dad. I've been around tons of family members that have passed over that said, you know, people were coming to receive them. And I've read a lot of people who said, you know, my mom was there to receive me, let everybody know I didn't pass with pain. A lot of times souls will be pulled out of bodies before traumatic events, and that comforts the people, the family, because they know that they're passed into the loving hands of their family and friends.
Now, what about reincarnation? I'm having a guest in a couple of weeks. He traveled all over looking for children that say that they were reincarnated, and he mostly went to India because they believe in reincarnation, and he has a lot of stories, but he didn't mention any reincarnation of a child saying that they were somebody famous. Now I know that there is a child that says he is reincarnated Princess Diana. And I did a show with a fella that said he was reincarnated from the Titanic. He was the one that did the SOS to the other ships. But
I believe it because as a therapist and as a, you know, I'm a psycho-spiritual therapist, so I treat children. I mean, I feel like I run Hogwarts sometimes because I treat children who have past life remembrances. I mean, one child I didn't even know. I mean, these kids are in the States too. He was 3 years old and he saw me on Facebook. It was during pandemic, you know, we're all locked down, so we're extra active on social media. I was doing a live, and I'm telling people wash their hands, don't put their fingers in their eyes, don't panic. Like, let's bring it down to what do we know, what do we need to do, and how do we move forward. And he saw me on Facebook and told his mother that was my doctor, and I need you to put her back on. She fixed my eye. And he was pointed to his third eye. And she said, honey, you don't know her. I don't know her. She's just a lady on Facebook. And he freaked out. He cried. He said, put her back. That's my doctor. So she let it go for a little while. Well, he wanted to watch me every day. He said, put my doctor back on. And she said, that's not your doctor. She's not even a doctor. You need to move on from this. He goes, no, I need to see her now. I need to tell her that the aliens will land in the front yard, not the backyard, and she needs to know it. Oh. And this woman who's a nurse called me. She called my center at that time and was like, this is going to be a really weird phone call, and I hope you're sitting down, but my son says he knows you. So when she brought him in, again, I had no knowledge of these people, didn't know them from Adam. When he came in, he ran to me and said, I've missed you. He knew me. I didn't know him, and even with my psychic abilities, I didn't know who he was, but he said we had been together for 10 different lifetimes, and that I fixed him. He had blood in his mouth one lifetime, or I'm sorry, his daughter had blood in her mouth one lifetime. He had glasses and a cane, and that he was super thankful because she got on the big boat, and he didn't, and that was the Titanic.
Wow.
Now he's able to remember multiple incarnations, and I mean, this is probably, I'll probably estimate on the low end, maybe 1 of 15 kids now that I treat. I mean, and they do, and even Adam, my son, said that I was his favorite mother. And I was like, what, buddy? He's 5 years old. I'm bathing him in the bathtub, but water's extra, you know, it's a conductive element, the most conductive element. I have him in there bathing him, and he said, you're my favorite mommy.
Oh, my God.
Said, honey, I'm your only mommy. And he said, no, I've had 10 sets of parents. He was here 10 times too. So, you know, and if we normalize it, as a therapist, I just normalize it, and I actually let them tell me their stories. And when they tell me their stories, I can pretty much verify energetically that they're telling the truth. This may be bothersome to them because no one's believing them, And just think, if you're an old soul in a little body and you have a vast amount of knowledge, no one believes you. No one's acknowledging you on that level. It's very difficult, because one little boy was really upset because he was 4 and he was complaining of his issue weapon being taken, and his mother was beside herself because she was like, why are you talking? We don't even have got little play guns in our house. What are you talking about? And he said, I'm very upset with the Army. They didn't cover me up all the way.
Oh,
and they took my
God.
weapon.
Oh, my
And he also,
God.
same child, remembered his mother. He told his blonde-haired mother this life that he loved his black-haired mommy still, and he hopes she's not mad.
Oh, my God.
So it's very, very common now for these kids to be remembering, because if you look at this, we went from indigo children, because, you know, we're probably beta indigo kids. Like, we came in knowing some stuff. We didn't know everything, but we're able to unpack it now, like those apps that we were talking about. And we have rainbow kids. We have crystalline kids now. We have golden kids. Like, they're just incarnating, like, by the dozens to help save the planetary system we know as Earth, and to raise the consciousness. And the process seems to be working, because they're pretty knowledgeable and they're very, very altruistic. If you meet a child like this, you actually can feel it in your physical body. They are pure love. Pure love.
Now, it seems like children can recall that they had other lives, but not so much adults.
Well, that, you know, the prefrontal cortex develops logic in the 7th year of life. So you're developing that sense of logic. You know, it can be environmental. There's so many different factors that play into this. And it is extremely interesting to find out how to preserve that connection and kind of nurture that child in that environment so they can stay connected. And we've proven it to be true. If you provide the child with correct tools, the connection is intact.
Wow. Drew, have you ever had any paranormal experiences?
I've had a few. I had one that happened not long ago, and I don't know, it's one of the strangest things. And I've said this on my show because it was fairly recent, where I was driving to work with, you know, my typical cup of coffee in my left hand, and I was driving along. It's not raining. I'm in my truck, and the window's up, everything normal, and it, like, somebody dropped a rock or something in my coffee cup, and it like blew, you know, like, kind of got on my shirt for work, and I'm like,
Oh.
What caused that? And I didn't hit a bump, anything like that. It was like somebody threw a pebble in it, and there was only like a third of the cup left, and I finished it. There was no rock at the bottom of my cup.
Oh, my God.
No bump, nothing, and it was out of nowhere. It's like a little bleep, and it came up like someone had thrown a little pebble in my coffee, and it was the strangest thing that's happened to me in years, because I had no explanation for it. Nothing falling from the inside, no bump, no nothing, no rock was found, and that was the effect of it coming out, and it was bizarre.
Wow, I never heard anything like that.
Yeah, it was weird.
You have to ask the question, Drew, when that happens in your environment, what's the message? Like, that happened.
Somebody telling me something.
Right,
I just
right.
didn't know what.
Well, that's how you develop your abilities, right? Like, okay, what's the message? Like, what does somebody want me to know? And then pay attention to your senses, because maybe they are trying to get did you slow down? Maybe there was a deer going to come out. Did you stop the car? Do you see what I'm saying?
Slow down
like
enough to avoid something, or somebody on the other side helping me.
Absolutely. I don't think it was a bad thing. I think you're progressing. I think you're progressing with your connection.
It was strange. I still have no explanation for that. None.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
Wow. Well, I guess we'll end the show. This has been fun. Mm-hmm. Nice talking for a change.
It's always fun. It's always fun.
Well, we have plenty of cases. Drew has another one he wants to present to you, and I have tons.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
At least one a month, right?
Yeah, well, you know what? Oh, my God. I told Dave about the next date. I'll get back with you. I'll text you. I'll message you and ask you about the next date. I had to fill in some spots because the people wanted to do the shows as soon as possible. So I think the next one is October, I think. I'm not sure.
Okay.
September, October. I think maybe if we'll have time, then we'll do more than 3 because it went pretty fast. It was less than an hour.
Sure.
But thanks so much, Serenity, Jenny, and Drew. Thanks so much. I'll set up another date for all of us, okay?
Okay.
Sounds great.
Oh, thank you so much. Love you guys. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Great show. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, gosh. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I did. I love having Drew and Jenny on the show. Okay, so I don't have my calendar. Oh, you know, the next show, and not next week, but the week after. Oh, God, Steve Stockton. We're going to talk about the triangles, and I still haven't picked out which one I want. I mean, there's so many. There's the Michigan Triangle, there's the Alaska Triangle, Nevada Triangle, the Bennington Triangle, which is my favorite, in Vermont. There's tons of them, so I'm going to pick out which ones I want to talk about. And he's a fabulous guest. I have a fellow. Oh, I have somebody. Trey. Oh, I can't remember Trey's last name. He had an encounter with, I think it was Dogman. I heard his story, and it was extremely scary. And I have him scheduled for the show. Oh my God, wait till you hear it. I couldn't believe it when he was saying it. I couldn't believe it. Really, really scary. There's another fella coming on called Project Meadows. I can't remember. I have to buy his book to read that. And that I found him, and it was the Project Meadows is very interesting topic. Oh God, who else is coming? The guy that talks to reincarnated children. I have to get his book. And a friend of mine, Keith McCloskey. He's from England. He did a show with me on I did 3 shows on the day at Love Pass, and I wanted to do the air show with him because he had written a book, and he had actually gone to Russia, and he was allowed to look at documents on that case. So that's why I had aired. It's a fabulous show. It's on my channel. And he's written 2 more books. Oh God. Well, one I remember his book. It's about airplanes disappearing, and he talks about like portals and UFOs that are all connected to these disappearances, and he's included JFK Jr.'s flight. Remember that? JFK Jr. that crashed into the ocean? He's talking about that flight. So I want to know about it. I'll get the book and I'll find out, but I want to have him come on the show. And there was another book he wrote that's, oh my God, I'm going to do 2 shows with him anyway. Hopefully one in September, one in October. I've got a couple more shows already scheduled. I try not to get too far ahead because I hate to ask my guests 4 months in advance. To come on the show. I don't want them to forget. Anyway, so that's what's going on. And I will schedule another show with Jen and Drew. So everybody, thanks so much for coming joining us tonight. Looks like we had a nice crowd. Let me pull up my my YouTube channel. I'm gonna have to make sure I don't have the volume on. Okay, hold on, bear with me. Yeah, the sound's off. Okay, let me do some shout outs. Did you guys like the show tonight? It was very interesting. Isn't it kind of nice to talk sometimes, huh? Oh, what happened to my, what happened? Wait a minute. Oh, what happened? Hold on. There we go. Okay. It's kind of nice to talk sometimes to the guests, huh? Yeah, you know, that book, I would really like to do an in-depth show on that Dennis Martin. The book is full of information. It has 100 pages in it, and I absolutely love this book. And I also have the FBI report. I would really like to just some Sunday, just sit down, whoever wants to watch, but I want to do a show on Dennis Martin and go through this book because there's so much information in it. I was too much information to share. So let me do some shout outs. I know my mods were here, Chippa, Terry, and Renee. Thank you girls so much for always being here. You know I love you. And my buddy from Tallcross from Scotland. I don't know if he's still here. And I see all my Chris and Sarah, everybody, the Phantom. Thanks for coming back. Okay, let's do some shout outs. I think Tallcross might be gone. Yeah, I guess he's gone. Okay, so let me do some shout outs. So, Lori Miller, Aaron Brody, Sarah Claire. Let's see. Oh, maybe I could do it. Okay. Lauren, okay, let me go down. Lisa Cesari, The Phantom, Randall Giovanetti. Who's left? Tom Swigger. Yes, Tom, it was live. Victoria B. Anybody else that's still in here? I'm glad you liked the show. Tina Cowie. Christopher was in. Oh, Christopher Chris. Yeah, I don't think they're still in. Amy the Artist. I guess that's it. Oh, I've done some cases of Ed and Lorraine Warren's. I did 2 shows that were 2 of their cases, and they're on my channel. Oh, thanks, Claire, Sarah Claire, thank you. Okay, so I don't think anybody else is in chat, so again, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you come back, not this coming week, but the next week. That's the Triangle Show, and I got to get my stuff together so I can, because there's something, there's a town that's abandoned that's really haunted. There's ghosts and UFOs and aliens and stuff that go around that town, and I can't remember the name. It starts with a G, but I want to talk about that one. Steve's amazing. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. I love you guys. You just know that I love you guys so much. And again, I want to thank my mods who I love dearly, Chippa, Terry, and Renee. Thank you so much for always being here. And Tallcross, I'm sorry I missed you. Anyway, I'm gonna go now, and I'll see you in about a week and a half. Okay? Thanks, guys. I love you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Good night. Have a great weekend and great week.